It's your boyfriend's birthday. Your almighty, omnipotent, ultra-hot boyfriend, Bakugou Katsuki. It's clear that he has completely forgotten about it, especially with that secret mission that he's been sent on. You were pretty sure he doesn't even know what date it is. You were hoping that he'd be back by the 19th to make it for his birthday. But as you sat alone on the couch, watching the clock slowly tick towards midnight, you knew the two of you would have to make it up some other day. When the clock struck midnight, you sent the text message you had typed, wishing him happy birthday. You weren't into the whole pretend to forget then surprise cliche. You wanted to make him feel as appreciated as possible. You knew better than to call him. He probably has his phone either off or on silent. Plus, it's stupid to put him in potential danger by calling him for something that wasn't an emergency. You sat and watched some TV as you waited for him to text back. However, even after 2 hours, you still haven't received a single notification on your phone. That was when you decided to just go to bed. You should have gotten used to it by now. After all, this is what it's like to date a pro hero. Nonetheless, you still couldn't help but feel down. You curled up in the blanket, scooting yourself closer to his side of the bed, wanting to feel the usual warmth. But it was empty, and a little cold. Happy birthday, Katsuki. Come home soon, you muttered before falling asleep, even though you knew he couldn't hear you. You were waken up by your alarm, feeling more tired than usual since you stayed up last night. You grabbed the phone on the bedside table to turn off the alarm. You already told your boss you were taking PTO today, but you forgot to unset the alarm. Sighing, you plopped down back in your bed, ready to go back to sleep. That was when suddenly you felt something snake around your waist. Your eyes shot open in alert, but before you could scream, you were pulled back with a strong force, and your back hit something hard and warm. A familiar burnt caramel scent tickled your nostrils, and immediately your muscles relaxed. Katsuki, when did you get home? You asked softly. The man snuggled his face into the crook of your neck while groaning, clearly dissatisfied with your morning alarm. You smiled blissfully as he started planting soft kisses all over your neck. You looked down to see his forearm around you was covered in bandages. You're hurt? You immediately turn around, earning a grunt of displeasure from him. Are you okay? Once you turned around, you were met with that breathtakingly handsome face of his. He had a bruise on his right cheekbone, and bandages around his forehead and right shoulder. You gently patted his chest and sides, feeling for any broken bones. Just a few scratches. Tore a muscle here and there and bumped my head. Nothing to worry about, he said softly, knowing you were worried. How badly did you hit your head? You brushed your hands over the bandages around his head. Bled a little, but there's no concussion. Don't worry about it. He grabbed your hand from feeling his head and placed it around his waist. He made you lean on his good shoulder and put his arms around you once more. Your heart ached a little, but Bakugou knew better than to lie to you about his injuries. Last time you found out he lied, you threw a big fit and broke down in tears. If there's one thing Bakugou's scared of, it's your tears. I got your text, he muttered groggily. Thanks for remembering. He kissed you on the forehead. Well, since you always forget, you chuckled, someone has to remember it for you. You snuggled closer, your hand on his chest, feeling those squishy, relaxed pectorals. Wow, what am I going to do without you? He said sarcastically. You could hear the fatigue in his voice, so you decided to quit joking around with him. You went to bed at 2 last night, and he came back after that. It's not even 8 a.m. yet, so he definitely didn't get much sleep. Bakugou closed his eyes, and so did you. Breathing in his sweet scent, you felt so at ease and content. Even though you wanted to go out and do something fun with him for his birthday, laying in bed all day seemed like a romantic idea too. When you woke up, Bakugou was still asleep. You expected that much, since every time he came home from a business trip, he'd sleep for a whole day due to exhaustion. Since it was early in the afternoon, you decided to let him sleep while you went out to buy some groceries for dinner. Normally, you'd go to the supermarket with Bakugou, since it was just right across the street from your apartment. He liked to make sure you never do any chores alone. It was your agreement that the two of you would contribute equally to this house, whether it was cleaning, cooking, or earning income. However, Bakugou tends to break that agreement a little. Whenever he's around, he'd always force you out of the kitchen. He also can't seem to stand any speck of dust in the house, and is always cleaning. It's not that he was a germaphobe or anything, he was just too much of a perfectionist. With him around, it always feels like your contributions are insignificant compared to his. Well, it's not like he ever held that against you. To him, he probably didn't feel like he was doing more. You also enjoyed getting babied by him from time to time, so all's good. Today, however, there was no way you were letting Bakugou do any work. Now that you try to recall, when exactly was the last time you actually cooked for him? A year ago? Maybe longer? It's not that you sucked or anything. In fact, when he's gone, you can cook for yourself just fine. It's just, compared to Bakugou, you were definitely on the less talented side, and ever since you cut your fingers a few times in his presence, he hasn't let you use a kitchen knife since. Unbeknownst to him, however, you have been practicing. All those days of preparation solely for this day. You ordered a cake delivery on your way back from the supermarket. The bakery down the street was small, but pretty well known in the area. You were afraid you wouldn't be able to order a cake in such short notice. But luckily, they were pretty free today, so you were able to place an order for later tonight. The part-timer there said she'd deliver the cake around 8 at night, and you said that was fine. You were very careful to enter the house quietly so you don't wake Bakugou up, but once you walked in, you were greeted by an angry scowl. Bakugou stood at the door, glaring at you. "Where were you?" he demanded. "You're awake?" You were more devastated than surprised. Bakugou never lets you cook when he's around, so if he's awake, your plan to surprise him with a homemade feast literally just went down the drain. "I thought you'd sleep until dinner time." Bakugou looked down at the bags of groceries, eyes softening as he realized you just went out shopping. He could get a little paranoid sometimes, especially after tiring missions. It was his constant fear of putting you in danger that made him like this, so you tend to be understanding. He reached out to take the heavy-looking bag from your hand, but you turned to the side to block him from it. "You're injured." "That's my right arm. This one's fine." He hissed at you as he reached out again with his left arm, snatching the bag from your hand and carrying it to the kitchen. You pouted in displeasure as you followed him inside. Bakugou set the bags on the counter and started taking things out one by one to inspect what you bought. "Soft tofu?" He raised a brow at you. I'm making mapo tofu," you grumbled. "Do you even know how?" He had a questionable smirk on his face. You couldn't tell whether he was mocking you or just touched by your thoughtfulness. Probably both. "Of course. I'm not stupid," you muttered back at him. Bakugou's smirk softened to a gentle smile. Everything in the grocery bags were consist of his favorite food and snacks. He could tell just how much you were thinking of him just by going through the things you bought. There wasn't anything particularly special about his birthday this year. It was just like any other day, but it warmed his heart. He wouldn't have it any other way. "Just so you know, I'm cooking today. You go and rest." Your sudden outburst snaps him out of his thoughts. "What? Fuck no! You can't even use a knife properly. You'll fucking burn down the kitchen," he snapped. "No, I won't! I'm not a fucking baby. Stop treating me like one." You started pushing him away from the kitchen counter. He was about to say something to refute, but you cut him off. "If you dare to do any work in the house today, I swear I won't have sex with you for the rest of the year." Bakugou glared at you. Now that was a threat. You wouldn't dare. You smirked. Oh, I would. You crossed your arms, looking up at him tauntingly. I can handle abstinence for a year, Mr. Bakugou. Don't challenge me. You know I keep my word. Bakugou glared at you, anger written all over his face. He can't believe you'd use that as a threat against him. What's worse is that he knows you'll actually do it. You're stubborn, probably more so than him. And as you said, you keep your word and don't back down from challenges. Would he risk not having sex for a whole year over a birthday meal? No. No, he wouldn't. Fine! You mentally high-fived yourself. What a genius. That horny-ass motherfucker can't even handle No Nut November, so there's no way he'd be able to stay out of your pants for a year. Why didn't you think of this threat sooner? Bakugou plopped down on the couch and turned on the TV, using that as a distraction to keep him from arguing with you. His brows were furrowed tightly, and you could feel the anger radiating off of him. Damn, you thought. He's so hot when he's angry. You turn your face to the side to hide the blush forming on your face. Others may find that scowl scary, but your sick ass can't help but get turned on by it. You mentally slapped yourself. Stop it. Save the simping for later. You have to impress him with your cooking today. You debated on whether or not you needed to cheer him up, but it's not like you two got into an argument or anything, so he's probably not going to be angry for long. You went back to the kitchen to prepare the food. Just as you thought, Bakugou wasn't actually mad at you, just a little bit irritated. After a few minutes of sitting there, the anger slowly dissipated on its own. He's the type of guy who can't really sit there and do nothing. It felt like he was wasting his life away, which is why he's always doing housework when he's home. He has to keep himself busy, or he feels restless. Before you knew it, he was behind you, watching over your shoulders as you cut the boneless chicken thighs. I'm not going to cut myself, you told him. Yeah, right. You're clumsy as fuck, he retorted. You know, I have a higher chance of messing up with you all up in my personal space, right? You reminded him. He frowned at the knife in your hand. You're doing it all wrong. Let me... Hey! You shifted the knife towards your left to prevent him from grabbing it. 1 year! He froze. God, he hates you so much right now. If you really want to watch, you can sit right there. You pointed across the island counter you were working on. Bakugou clicked his tongue in annoyance as he made his way around and sat down on one of the bar chairs. He watched as you not so skillfully cut up all the chicken into bite-sized pieces and put them into a plastic Ziploc bag. You then marinated them with soy sauce, minced garlic, sake, and ginger. It's been so long since he last saw you working in the kitchen. You're not nearly as efficient as him due to lack of experience, but just as you said, you're not a newbie to the kitchen, nor are you stupid. Being the impatient jerk he is, Bakugou would often comment on how you do things, saying you're either doing them wrong or out of order. You'd end up bickering a bit, but it was just how the two of you usually operated. Like he promised, he didn't help you, and you didn't end up cutting yourself. You did end up making quite a mess, much to his disapproval. Once you finished setting up the dinner table though, he did look quite impressed by you. Good job, you didn't burn down the kitchen, he said. Would it hurt to just compliment me? You rolled your eyes at him. You watched nervously as he reached for the mapo tofu. That was his favorite dish. You practiced a lot to make it the way he likes it. He once mentioned that the best mapo tofu he had was at Todoroki's house, so you actually went out of your way to ask Shoto's sister to teach you her recipe. As he placed the spoonful of red hotness into his mouth, you had already balled your hands into fists, with sweat drenching your palms. You didn't realize how nervous it made you to have him eat your cooking, especially since you haven't cooked for him in almost a year. Bakugou's eyes widened as the spices exploded in his mouth. The numbness of the huajiao, the spiciness of the crushed dried peppers, and the juiciness of the ground pork combined with the soft tofu that stayed intact throughout the cooking process. It was delicious. How is it? You stuttered. Not bad, he replied nonchalantly. not wanting to admit that he actually likes hers better than his. Even though his tsundere as cannot say a single word of compliment, seeing him reach for the mapo tofu over and over again was enough proof that he liked it, and your nerves finally settled. It was a normal dinner, just like any other day. You told him about some drama going on at work, while he told you everything he can about the non-secretive side of his work. There was laughter, teasing, and occasional bickering. It wasn't anything overly romantic. There was no fancy dinner on a yacht or a Michelin star restaurant, but this was everything Bakugou wanted and needed. Just you. He just needed to see you, hear you, feel you, and that was it. He was living the dream life. A little bit after dinner, there was a knock on the front door. You immediately dashed to grab the door and thanked the girl for delivering the cake. You tipped her for the delivery fee, and she was off. "Come on, Katsuki! Cake's here!" You shouted as you placed the box down on the kitchen table. "You seriously bought cake?" He walked over from the living room. "Of course! It's not a birthday without cake!" You took the cake out of the box. It came with these really cute, thin golden candles. On the giant piece of white chocolate were the words, "Happy Birthday, Katsuki." You sat Bakugou down in front of the cake and put the candles on top, making a circle. "Perfect!" you exclaimed. Taking out your phone from your pocket, you wanted to take a selfie to commemorate. I can't quite get the cake in the picture." "Give me that," Bakugou said as he snatched the phone from you. He pulled you against his chest with one hand, and with the other he held it up, angling the camera down so it caught both of you and the cake. You smiled and made a peace sign, and he quickly took the picture. "You didn't even smile!" you complained as he handed the phone back. "It's just a picture," he rolled his eyes at you. You sighed. Even though he looks as grumpy as ever in his birthday photo, he's still a hottie. He didn't let you light the candles because you apparently don't know how to handle lighters. Originally, he didn't want you to sing Happy Birthday song because he thought it was too childish. But you insisted, so he had to sit through the whole 15 seconds of you singing Happy Birthday like a grade school student. "Make a wish," you nudged him. He looked down at the candles, then back at you, not sure what to wish for when everything he ever wanted was right in front of him. He could wish to be number one, but that doesn't feel right. Things like that have to be achieved through hard work, not a wish. "What's wrong?" you asked him. "Whoa!" Suddenly, he pulled you into his lap. "Katsuki?" You looked down at the man who buried his face into your back. "Katsuki, if you don't blow out the candles now, the wax will melt all over the cake." He didn't budge until about a few seconds later, he finally lifted his face from your back and shifted you onto his right leg so he could lean forward and blow out the candles. "What did you wish for?" you asked him, eyes full of curiosity. "Not telling you." "Oh, come on, don't be stingy." "I'm not telling! It's got nothing to do with you anyways." That was a lie. It's got everything to do with you. He wished for your safety and happiness, health and longevity. Most importantly, he wished that you'll say yes when he proposes to you in the near future. But there's no way he's telling you that. Oh well. Here's your gift. You pulled out a box from under the table. "What is it?" "Open it." He sat back down on his lap, and Bakugou carefully untied the ribbon around the box. He lifted the lid, and his eyes widened. They were a pair of shoes. "I got you a new pair of mountain climbing shoes since your other one is wearing out. Figured we'd go mountain climbing sometime when you're free and not injured." This is what he loved about you. Your gifts aren't flashy, not some useless romantic gadget that would just end up sitting somewhere in the house catching dust. Everything you gave him was full of love and thought. Now, every time he wears these shoes, he'd think of the person who gifted it to him. You wrapped your arms around his neck and quietly and lovingly whispered into his ear, "Happy birthday, Katsuki. I love you." You felt his arms snake around your waist and his other hand pressed against the back of your head. Without further ado, he pushed you down so your lips met his. Out of pure habit, you immediately parted lips for him. Bakugou's tongue slithered between your lips, immediately beginning its excavation. There was still some of that lingering spiciness in his mouth, making your tongue and lips tingle. His hands trailed down. He hooked one hand behind your back and the other underneath your thighs. Next thing you knew, he stood up from the chair. "What are you?" You gasped, breaking the kiss. "Claiming my present." "That, your present." You pointed to the shoes laying on the table. "And you haven't even had cake."
"Who the fuck needs cake? When I can eat you."
Oh. Well, shit. Hello, thank you so much for listening to Unromantic Birthday. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Beyond this is 18 plus territory, which is Patreon only, so it will be on my Patreon, but it's just like the written version. I'm not voicing all of that. So yeah, and the SFW version is on Wattpad and AO3, so if you guys would like to check it out, give that a vote or a like, that would be greatly appreciated. And also, the podcast this month is very overdue because of this, so you guys still have a chance to submit your headcanon submissions this month. So yeah, feel free to send that in to my email, and I think I'll be able to record the podcast this weekend. So you guys have up until Saturday this weekend to submit that. I want to give a big shout out to my patrons Jojo B, Lauren Brick, Tati Davis, Mel Alvarado, and Ninja Knight. Thank you guys so much for your support. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Feel free to check out any of my other fanfic audios, and I post short headcanon videos 2 times a week. So yeah, thanks for listening, and hope you guys have a great day. Bye bye!